What's up guys, good evening and welcome to Roma Theory. It's been a while and I apologize that there was no video post Juventus. I had a flight the next morning very early and you probably saw my picture all over the newspapers in Italy or Roma newspapers because I was sat basically next to Evan Ferguson on that plane. And then I was in Dublin for a few days, came back on Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day today, we're back. So we've got a lot of things to say. I have a big recap of things that I missed that I do want to mention. Some of these include Ferguson himself, what Gasperini said about him post-Juventus, other considerations coming from that game, moving into a very significant game on Monday against Daniele De Rossi, which will be very emotional. Speaking about transfer news, because we do have daily transfer news regarding Roma, Joshua ZIRKZEE, Giacomo Raspadori. I missed a lot and I apologize, but first of all, how did Christmas go? I didn't wish you a Merry Christmas, and I'm going to do it now, even though it's Boxing Day. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas, ate a lot of food, spent some time with your families. If you're young, hopefully Santa was generous this year, and I just hope you all had a nice rest and everything. I don't know why, but ever since you grow up, I feel less Christmassy every Christmas that goes by. I'm not sure if other people feel the same, but it's a few Christmases that I don't know what it is, but the vibe is not that Christmassy as it was years ago. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact that my grandfather passed away a few years ago. He was definitely like the light of Christmas. But seeing all my little cousins happy around the presents, that was good. But just like Boxing Day today has been way better than Christmas Day yesterday, if you get the point. But it's been nice. It's been nice to have a good old rest. We're back immediately because we have a game on Monday, a very important game. But guys, we have a lot of things to say. I left you hanging, and I apologize about that. But I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas. Watched Home Alone, Polar Express, The Grinch, whatever you watched. Stranger Things tonight. I hope you guys had a wonderful time. Let's now resume into Roma. Let's speak about Roma. I want to give you a little recap post Juventus. Now, I was at a party on the day we played Juventus, and I never rewatched that game because I got home quite late and very early in the morning. I was on a plane and I was with Evan Ferguson. On the plane, you definitely saw my picture, the picture of me online or on Roma Theory. You might have seen it. But I have a lot of things to say about that game. I saw a lot of people speak about the game, and I did see some highlights on it. And two things come out from that game. Actually, a lot of things come out from that game. The first thing that comes out from that game is that we're not ready to make that jump yet. And this is something that I don't need to repeat because we lost against Juventus. Because I repeated to you this thing when we lost to Inter, when we lost to Milan, and when we lost to Napoli. And now that we lost to Juventus. All very different defeats. But as far as I'm aware, that the game that we played against Juventus was a very similar game to the rest. A game where you dominate in terms of possession. A game where you dominate in terms of possession, but then leave the stadium with 0 points and with nothing in your hand. And that's because you can't finish. And when I say that this manager is working miracles, I mean it. Because we're not better than Juventus, Milan, Napoli and Inter. We're the fifth best team in Italy. I would argue that you have got... I would even argue that if Atalanta started the season with Palladino, they would be in the same position as you. And that the reason you're ahead of Atalanta, in my opinion, is because they started with Juric. Because otherwise you'd be same points as Atalanta. I think Roma have a very similar team to Atalanta. Arguably Atalanta have a better team than you. But Milan, Juventus, Napoli and Inter have a better team than you in general. That doesn't mean that you can't beat them. That doesn't mean that. But that means that in order to make that jump, you need signings and you need to add. And that this team is not ready to make that jump yet. Which again brings everyone back where they belong when speaking about Scudetto dreams. This team is not constructed to win the league this season. It never was. We spoke about it more because of hype rather than actual reality. But it was never going to be the case. You need to be careful. I said this already. You need to be careful because if you don't back this manager this January, you're not going to get top 4. And it doesn't take a genius to say this to you. If you don't give this manager what he wants this in this winter transfer session, he won't get Champions League football because he's overachieved. He has overachieved. He has overachieved and he is 4th because technically we're still 4th. Juventus have closed that gap, but at time of speaking, we're still 4th. And there are high chances that we end the season, that we end the year as 4th, because I see us beating Genoa. This man has brought us in this position with no strikers. With no strikers. So if you don't back him, all of this effort will be once again chucked in the bin. Because if you don't back him in January, you won't get top 4. Because Juventus will get ahead of you. Because Milan will get ahead of you. Because Napoli will get ahead of you. And because Inter will get ahead of you. The only challenge that you can pose is against Juventus. And at time of speaking, Juventus have a better team than you. Which is why you lost that game. Juventus have more decisive players than you. So if you don't hire the bar and add signings in January to contrast Juventus, Juventus will get ahead of you. And you will still... You will be in a position where you'll be forced to pray for that 5th position that will bring you in the Champions League. Otherwise, you won't get it. And otherwise, you cannot complain about it because this team is not top 4 teams in the league. So it's just adding pieces together and collecting what you deserve to collect. That's my general thought on the game. I'm not going to get into the dynamics of the game. Number 1, because 1 week has gone by, basically. And number 2, because as I said before, I didn't watch the game fully. So I'm in no position to do that. I do want to give 2 comments on 2 players. One of them is Ferguson and one of them is Paulo Dybala. I don't understand, from what I've seen other people say, and from the little that I've seen from that game, I have no idea why Gasperini bashed Evan Ferguson post-game. I'm still, almost a week after that, trying to understand why he did it. Because I didn't watch the game, but without having watched the full game and having watched the last 15 minutes at a party, Ferguson came on and the game changed. Now, again, I've been very critical of Ferguson. I have, because Ferguson, you cannot judge him on a 2-game basis and be happy about him because he scored a banger against Celtic. You know, no. He's been shit all year round. He's never really given that signature mark that we all wanted. So, of course, I'm in no position to go, Ferguson is a top-class player, he needs to start every game. No, but I also think, and I completely disagree with Gasperini when it comes to bashing him all of a sudden post-game. In my opinion, the only reason that I can give to why Gasperini bashed him post-game is 2 reasons. Number 1 is to put an ultimate pressure on the board in signing him some strikers. So he's like going, you know, if this is Ferguson, I will insist on playing with a false 9 because this Ferguson is absolutely useless. So if you don't want me to play with a false 9, and if you think that playing with a false 9 is inefficient to me, then you need to buy me a striker, because otherwise I'm insisting on Dybala as a false 9. And I'm going to get onto Dybala in a second, because I am. Then the other reason that I can give is that he knows, and he has been told, that Ferguson will go back in January, or that he's been told that they're going to 100% get ZIRKZEE in. So he bashed Ferguson one last time, and then maybe he expects Ferguson to go back to Brighton in January. I'm not sure how that works, but in my opinion, there was no need for that. Number 1, because Ferguson changed the game. Like, Ferguson got subbed in, and you saw some light from what other people have said. Number 2, if you know that Ferguson is going to stay, you have now utterly bashed him in a way that he will never recover from. He is already a player that knows that in June he will leave. He already knows that in June he won't be here. So imagine what that does to you psychologically. You're a player who doesn't care about the fact that you're in Rome, because he never really clicked when it comes to attitude-wise. He already doesn't care that he's here. He knows that he's gonna leave in June. So imagine psychologically what that does. Adding on to that, the manager has bashed you publicly, like Ferguson has died after that game, and I don't expect Ferguson in a starting 11 anytime soon anymore. Especially now that Dovbyk is back from his injury. Ferguson is gone. Ferguson won't even be calculated anymore when it comes to decisions. But I don't understand it, because I think it was a period where Ferguson was actually growing a bit. He was coming from that Cremonese game where he played well. He came from that Napoli game where he was a bit shaky. But then he came against a great game against Celtic. A great game against Como, despite the fact that he didn't score. Got subbed in against Juventus and, was the reason we scored a goal. He was building up some momentum. That hammering from Gasperini post-game, I'm still trying to understand it, because I think it made no sense. Now, it clearly means that he fell out with the manager, didn't click with the manager at first, yes, but was it necessary to do that? I've got my own doubts. Now, moving on to Dybala. I love him, and I need to start by saying this, because otherwise I will get publicly executed if I speak bad about him. And this is not speaking bad about him. I wish him all the best. I love him. I absolutely love him. He's becoming a father soon. If they ever want to go out on a date, I can be the babysitter to that child. I love him. He made us go through just for that Budapest game. Dybala deserves honorary mentions at this football club. Dybala is unbelievable. But Dybala is finished. Paulo Dybala no longer exists. And if I see people go extend Dybala's contract, you have completely lost the plot of this game. You have completely lost it. If you want Dybala to extend his contract, you're drunk. You are absolutely drunk. You're drunk. You're out of this world. If you say that Dybala deserves a contract extension, or you want to give Dybala, you've completely lost the plot. Like there is no brain cell in a human being that supports Roma that desires a contract extension for Paulo Dybala. Dybala's finished. Dybala is gone. Dybala no longer exists. I said this months ago, and I was laughed at. Protect Dybala at all costs. Give him a contract extension. No. He is physically destroyed. I will not question the fact that playing Dybala as a false nine doesn't help him. I completely agree with that. I agree, Dybala as a false nine doesn't work, especially against teams like Juventus who've got Bremer in defense. No, starting Dybala as a false nine doesn't help him. But Dybala is finished. Dybala, I love him. If it was me speaking on a rational point of view, I would let him go in January. I really would. All love aside, speaking rational, if somebody points a gun at me and goes, if you let Dybala go in January, you will get, I don't know, you get ZIRKZEE Raspadori and another one. Where do I sign? Because again, this is not hate, but genuinely speaking, if you want this Dybala to get a contract extension, you don't support this football club. You're just here for Paulo Dybala because Paulo Dybala no longer exists. But Paulo Dybala, to me, Dybala no longer makes a difference. Dybala is physically destroyed. Dybala sprints for 10 meters and he's on the ground. For me, Dybala finished. the second he got that injury last season against Cagliari. For me, that injury against Cagliari marked the end, or not the end, but the downfall of this player. The downfall of this player, because we cannot pay his wage anymore. We cannot pay 10 million, 9 million for a player who is no longer a player that makes you the difference. You need to let that wage go. You need to terminate that wage and get fresher legs. And then, and then people ask why we don't have tempo in our team. Guys, in life, you need to have the courage to end relationships and say no to things. The time has come that this club parts ways with Paulo Dybala for the benefit of all. And this is not a criticism. This is the nature of a human being, especially of somebody who is coming towards the end of his career. We can no longer pay this player because this player no longer makes a difference and is physically destroyed. He is physically, his physical condition is genuinely worrying. And I mean, this is what I think. But again, I've been saying this since, this is no surprise to me. This is no surprise to me because it has been like this ever since the season started. And, it's the stats that prove it. Football is also built on statistics. Dybala has 1 goal in It's past Christmas. Really, at the end of the season, max. Because I would be tempted to say in January as well, if it means reinforcements. If it means fresher legs and fresher reinforcements, then yes, I'm all up for it in January as well. But due to the fact that we will probably not replace him properly, no, in June. Keep him until June. But in June, I'm sorry, but he needs to go. Do you think Bailey will leave in January? No, but in June he will definitely leave. And Bailey is another player that don't get me started. Okay, transfer news. ZIRKZEE and Raspadori are the clear goals for this January. Gasperini wants both. Fabrizio Romano has said that Man United have officially received an official bid from Roma this morning for ZIRKZEE, and that up to now the deal is moving forward, but United will not let him go until they find a replacement. ZIRKZEE also, Fabrizio Romano said that ZIRKZEE wants the move, desperately wants to leave United. I've already said yes to this move. There's a video dedicated to this earlier, so go back and watch that. And Raspadori as well. Roma have intensified contacts with Atletico Madrid, who have said that, however, they want a guarantee of money for Raspadori because they bought him this summer. Technically, they're not in a position where they need to sell him immediately. He's not in their plans to leave. If the money comes, they will let him go. Also because he's not particularly in the plans of Simeone. But they need a guarantee of money, whether that's a loan with obligation or direct money, which, as I believe, 22 million is what they want. I think if you get Raspadori and ZIRKZEE, you improve. You automatically improve. Do I think together they're going to solve the problems that this team has and the limits? No, because I still think that there are other gaps you need to fill up. But it is definitely important to add pieces up front. That's the priority for the manager. This manager has overachieved 5 months of football without strikers. He has invented everything possible when it comes to strikers. He played Baldanzi as a false 9, Dybala as a false 9, Ferguson and Dovbyk together. He tried it all, and the fact that he post-match says that the solution that he's the most surprised with is Baldanzi as a false 9 is a clear definition that this manager has overachieved. Back him in January, give him what he wants up front, because I think this start of the season has proven to you that if this manager had been back this summer, then you could have aimed for higher positions moving towards the end of the solar year. I think reinforcements are massive. ZIRKZEE and Raspadori together are a must. If you get them together, you improve automatically. Also because they're two players which have played as a strike in that striker position before, but at the same time can also drop down. I've said this already before, but they can play in that too offensive midfield Lookman position that we always relate to, Ilicic position, going back to his Atalanta period. For me, they're a yes. For me, both of them are a yes. One of the two, if I need to pick one of the two, I pick ZIRKZEE. If you get both, I think you're in for a treat. But then, of course, it's not that if they come together, they're gonna make you win the league. No, because there are gonna be other limits. But you can't get everything in January. You need to get your priorities sorted in January, and the priorities are clearly strikers, attackive, offensive players. That's what the manager has indicated, and that's what the manager needs. So you need to back him, absolutely. Dybala is why I started supporting Roma in 2023, and now he's gonna leave. Says Footfire. Simo, if you watch the full match of the Juve game, I think you actually question reality. Gasp's decisions legit made no sense at all. Oh yeah, I have no doubt about that. I have no doubt about the fact that Gasperini insists on a formation which doesn't work in big games. But I also think, I said this already, I think he's insisting on wrong formations because he has no better solutions. That's the way I see it. Like, Dybala is a false nine, Baldanzi is a false nine. In these big games, you will never win if you play Baldanzi or Dybala as a false nine. You never win because whoever you're going to play up front against Juventus, for example, will be marked by Bremer. How can you possibly think that you're going to win a game if Baldanzi or Dybala, who are that tall, get marked by Bremer, who is physically double or triple their size? So I have no doubt that Gasperini got it wrong against Juventus. Ferguson had to start that game. We said it in the preview as well. But I also feel like he does this in a way that needs to ring bells and alarms into that ownership's head and realize that he was not backed one bit. Because if you think that Bailey and Ferguson means backing the manager, like, any other manager would have walked if that were his reinforcements up front. Would have walked. Like, I don't think we realize that we're fourth, 3-4 points with our game in hand, of course, behind the first places, with no striker. Like, you try and manage a football team and bring it high up in the rankings of a league without your striker. Without your strikers. So I also feel like this manager ain't stupid. I think too many players, also in this chat, Marco, you can have your opinions, I have no doubt. But you're not better than this manager. This manager knows what to do. And I think if there's something that this first half of the season has shown, is that this manager is not stupid. This manager is very smart. This manager has years of experience, knows what to do. So I don't think this manager needs lessons on how to play. I don't think this manager needs us to tell him to change formation, because he's not going to do it. He's played with this formation ever since he started managing, and he's not that young. So I think what this manager needs is backings. And I am pretty sure that if he was properly backed this summer, we would have been first, second in this league. We would. Because if he was properly backed this summer, you would have won some big games this season. So I have a feeling that a lot of the wrong decisions that he's forced to do and is implementing in these games are as a result of him going, this is what you gave me, this is what I start, this is what I play. So it's your problem. Because if you signed, you brought me a striker, Ferguson, who came from 0 goals last season, a change between two teams, and a broken ACL. That's your problem. You can give me that, but don't expect, you can give me that player. You can give me that player. You don't have the money, you want to give me that player? Absolutely. But then don't complain if I don't use him, because I never asked for him. Other example, Bailey. Bailey is like, we needed a winger. You needed a left winger. Not only you managed to get another right winger because he's left-footed, you managed to get somebody who anyone, even a 3-year-old kid, got his injury record so that he was all injured last season. You know, and you're like, you give me these players, you can't expect me to make that jump with these players. These players belong to the hospital, both of them. So instead of being, and this is why at the end of last season, he said to you, if you need to get these players to me, because we don't have money, because we're restricted, don't get me anyone. I will work my way with the players I have, and then we'll work, and then hopefully I'll be back in January. And that's exactly why he filmed that interview at the end of the transfer window going, we signed nobody on deadline day or the week before deadline day because I wanted nobody of the players that they bought me. And I thought that any player that we would have signed in those last days would have been wasted. So instead of wasting money, because with Ferguson, with Bailey, these players are a waste of money. They are a waste of money. You got your money and you chucked it down the drain. Instead of wasting money, let's start being more rational and smart. Don't buy anyone if you need to buy shit. I'll work my way through it with the players I have. I will try and work a miracle until January and bring this team to January fighting for a top four, in a top four position. But then in January, hopefully I expect something. And this is the position that we're in right now. So this manager, for me, deserves only claps. And anyone who criticizes this manager, in my opinion, this manager doesn't deserve to be criticized. Because I don't think people realize that if we didn't have this manager, as somebody saying in the chat, we would be down low. We wouldn't be 10th, but we would be around Lazio's position. Lazio, Como, those positions. We're 4th right now. Juve have closed the gap. Now you need to be careful, but this manager knows what to do. And I think questioning this manager is wrong. We've questioned far too many managers in the last season, and it brought absolutely nothing. Trust this manager because he knows what to do, because he's experienced, and because he is somebody that has changed the movement of Italian football. So I don't think none of us is in a position to give this manager moral lessons, tactical lessons, formation lessons. No. We don't have that. Let this manager do what he thinks he can do. Of course, you can criticize some decisions. I agree. Some decisions in the last few games weren't good. But generally speaking, he knows what to do. So we need to shut up and back him. Do you see any ZIRKZEE alternative? Manu might hold him and probably take in the last minute of transfer window for no real reason. I don't know. I mean, the transfer session still needs to open. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyways, I'll catch you tomorrow with the Genoa preview. Very emotional game. Daniele De Rossi's return. Cannot wait for it. Hit the like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. See you out.